Welcome back to the SheSuite, the podcast where we elevate conversations about women, leadership, and building the kind of careers and companies that change the game. I am your host, Sierra Johnson Belser, founder of Inspire Executive Solutions and the creator of the Human Algorithm, where I am leadership leaders to lead at human speed. Today's guest is a powerhouse woman who went from corporate HR to owning a commercial real estate firm, and she's creating spaces and deals and opportunities that women typically don't get invited into. Meredith is the founder and CEO of Tessa Commercial Real Estate. She's a former HR professional turned entrepreneur known for leadership, vision, and business acumen, creating opportunities for women in commercial real estate. Her story is a masterclass in confidence and pivoting and betting on yourself. So, Meredith, welcome to the She Suite, and we're so happy to have you.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you, Sierra.
Awesome. So, for those who are meeting you for the first time, who is Meredith Calhoun and what inspired you to launch Tessa CRE?
Whew, who is she? So I am a Birmingham, Alabama native. Pretty much been here my whole life. And I grew up in this town that is covered in historic structures. And I really feel like the love of those structures has shaped what I see as opportunity and what
Mhm.
I find interesting. So I am someone who has built a career around revisioning those structures, but quite by accident. I know we'll get more into that later. So I'm the CEO of Tessa Commercial Real Estate. I'm also co-founder and co-owner of Practice Works, which is a shared workspace for wellness
Mhm.
professionals. And, I'm just a girl that loves to work and loves to travel and loves to play.
I love all of that. So, you and I have known each other through a mutual friend for years,
Sure.
but I think it's funny that our last year we were on a women's leadership panel and we realized that we both have similar career paths in HR. And so you were like, how did we not know this about each other? So let's dive into that a little bit. So, from a fellow HR sister,
Yep.
what strengths did HR give you that prepared you to run a company?
Oh, I call my HR journey my MBA for real.
Mm.
So, I went to the University of Georgia and actually finished in less than 4 years.
Mhm.
I don't know what possessed me to do that, but I was clearly ready to be grown up and making my own decisions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I did that, but I majored in psychology with the intent, early in that journey to use that in some way. I think it was outdoor rec therapy that was on my mind.
Mm.
But somewhere along the path of taking those classes and enjoying my time at Georgia, I realized that I was not going to use the psychology degree in a traditional way. I was not going to go into counseling or go into further studies and research and doctorates and those sorts of things. And so I just thought to myself, I don't know how else this translates to business other than HR.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so I found this little startup in Birmingham that was hiring. And they were hiring a payroll processor. I'm not even lying to you, a payroll
Oh, wow.
processor. And I said, looks good to me. Let's go do that. And so that job was a 10-year tenure in basically what was a startup at the time. We didn't call it that at the time, but it was a professional employer organization. And we served small to mid-sized companies as their HR department, essentially. And so it was the connection to those business owners that taught me so much about the power of people and how they influence your business, but also how to make other business decisions. And of course, I got thrown into all the numbers
Mhm.
when I thought I didn't like numbers. Like I had spent a college career avoiding math classes because I was like, I don't think that's for me. But guess what? I was wrong.
I love that. Love it. So, what are some leadership lessons from HR that shape the way you now lead your teams, your clients, and your projects?
Great question. So the HR that I was working in was very focused on the operational side, the nuts and the bolts of employees, um, workers' compensation, the benefits associated, all the things that support your staff make you attractive as an organization. And so, what that taught me was process,
Mhm.
the value of process in training, in leading, in building a company. So it was less associated with the subjective, I'm sorry, yes, and more associated with, what are the building blocks of a successful team or the building blocks of a successful organization. So that's
Mhm.
really what I took from HR into business building.
And those are all great things because the operational side of being a business owner is, I would say, probably 70% of owning a business is the operational piece of it.
That's
So if
right.
you have that, then the rest of it just kind of comes into fold. So are there any books or anything that you read that really kind of helped you hone into what you wanted the operation and the culture of your business to look like?
Yes, I would say there are a lot of books. There are a lot of books at different times. Um,
Mhm.
I find them to be typically I'm looking to support a particular idea that I have in my brain when I go to a book. But I will say in this specific question, the one thing, that power of focus in your day to day,
Mhm.
is what I that's what I keep going back to as we
Mhm.
continue to evolve and grow as a company, because entrepreneurs are, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say this. Entrepreneurs are an idea a minute. We see opportunity everywhere. We're just sort of wired that way. So, learning when to determine whether you have a true opportunity in front of you or a distraction disguised as an opportunity is a critical skill
Absolutely.
in being a business owner.
Mhm. So, are there any limitations that you felt in corporate HR that pushed you towards entrepreneurship?
Wasn't necessarily limitations in corporate HR. What was happening at the time that I made the decision to leave is that I was no longer growing and learning. I was not in a position to be able to, and really couldn't find, I felt out of position is the way I would refer to it. Um, we were trying to find ways to continue to elevate me and teach me more skills, and I just felt very boxed in. And I was in my late 20s, so I think there's a part of, just where you are personally in growth, and what you're thinking about how you wanna spend your time and really how you want to invest your time towards, creating the life that you want.
100%. I think I too felt that way in probably one of my last roles where I'd worked for a company for a long time and felt like they did not see, number one, the value in me that I provided for the company. But then also, I just felt like there was just nothing else for me to do. Like I had accomplished all the things, and clearly they were just, so busy with giving opportunities to family and friends and church members that I was like, okay, this is just no longer the company that I need to be associated with.
It's
Um,
really interesting you say that. That has been one of that's probably, when you said giving opportunities to others, family members, whatever, um, it was interesting for me, and we may touch on this a little bit more, but as I've evolved in company or corporate in the corporate setting, I have noticed that there's an inclination to elevate those with family or
yeah.
those with the perceived responsibility for carrying the family.
Hmm.
Wait
Yep.
a second. Am I gonna have to have a kid for you guys to like of
To notice me. Yeah.
this is
Yep. It's,
ugh,
it's,
I digress.
and that's a weird dynamic. And I'm glad you brought that up because, I mean, typically you would think that the one with the family already has so much going on, but you feel more inclined to give them more to do. And we feel inclined to accept that. And so, like, yes, I can add 16 more things to
Yes.
my plate, even though I have two kids under the age of three, you know?
Right.
Um, and so, but I guess motherhood and being in that family dynamic leadership to some people, and they see that as a leadership quality.
Yeah.
Um, and so then they think, oh, she's running things at home.
There
She
you
can
go.
run things over here in this department. And two couldn't be more different, right? What I do at home and who I am, trust me, you don't
That's
want
right.
what shows up at home to show up at that.
'Cause
Um,
that's a dictatorship, ladies and gentlemen.
Ooh, it is a full on dictatorship. Yes. So I run this,
That's
and you do
awesome.
not want
I
me
love
running
that.
your company the same way. Trust me, some feelings would get hurt daily. I love that. So now we're going to talk about your pivot into commercial real estate and overcoming the courage to do it, skill, and most importantly, imposter syndrome. Because I'm sure you've had maybe a little bit of that show up in your day to day.
Sure.
So, commercial real estate is a major leap, obviously, from HR.
Yep.
So, what was the catalyst for that shift, which you kind of touched on, but if you want to kind of go deeper into that, feel free.
Yeah.
And then, like, how did you navigate entering into this male dominated industry?
Yes, great questions. So again, it was my attraction to the historic renovation projects and adaptive
Mhm.
reuse deals that were going on at the time. So this was the early 2000s,
Mhm.
and it was certainly going on at a more rapid pace and scale in other markets. But even in Birmingham, we had this sort of shift back to downtown,
Mhm.
the renovation of the buildings into lofts primarily, maybe sometimes a little bit of retail space. And I just really wanted to be in that game. And I did not know how vast and deep and wide and really fabulous the commercial real estate industry is at the
Mhm.
time. I was pretty myopic in what I wanted to do. But I used my network, my local network, to begin to have conversations with pretty much anyone who would meet me. And at this point in time, for sure, as a woman looking to work at a commercial real estate company, when I was having conversations with the people that I was granted interviews with, and by the way, these were leaders of the company, they were definitely seeing my potential in their marketing department. That's where they saw my fit. No matter what I was coming out of this mouth, they were like, you know, where we really see you being helpful. And to be fair, I had zero experience in real estate.
Mhm.
So I was using the background and the skills that I had to try to figure out, okay, where can I fit in? How can I bring you value at your company and learn this industry? And so that may be part of the reason that they're, sending me to more of an administrative role. But it was really important to me at the time to stay to not settle, basically, not settle for that job, even though it may have appeared to be a foot in the door. If I was going to be an admin to a principal who was doing deals, that's different. But if you're going to put me in your marketing department, we got a mismatch of paths. So I finally found that person who needed the skill set that I had to help in the growth of his company and who was willing to take a chance on me to say, I believe in you being able to bring this value, but I also believe that you're going to work and you're going to learn this industry. And, you know, conversationally, I think he believed that I had the interpersonal skills to connect with people and do well in the role eventually. So I just had someone who would take a chance on me, but I had to kiss a lot of frogs.
It's a lot of frogs. That is so true. So true. Um, and I think building your network. So, what I'm hearing from you is one, you had to utilize your network that you had been
Yes.
spending probably years building to get
Yes.
to that point. But then you also rallied up your male allyship, correct? To help get your foot in the door so that you could learn the process, learn the business, and learn and grow, which I think some women, I have been guilty at times, haven't really leaned into that to really see ourselves catapult forward into the industries that we want to go into.
Yes, I think, this has been my advice, and I don't know if it's the right or the wrong advice, but it worked for me. I'm going to call it apprenticeship. But I did not first of all, I took a pay and cut. I took a cut in pay, a
Mhm.
significant cut in pay, and considered it an investment in myself. I
Mhm.
knew I'd need to kinda take one step back in order to catapult, like, you gotta kinda, like, relax a leap. So I
Mhm.
knew I was ready for that, but I also just really wasn't focused on what is the actual path or what is the title or how, how is everybody else gonna perceive this move? I just wasn't worried about any of that.
Mhm.
If people called me, my mentor for that time, I still consider him a mentor. If they called me his assistant, it didn't bother me one bit. I was in the room. I
Yeah.
was hearing every single conversation. I was learning how he was thinking. I just was not focused on that. And so that's advice I've given. And again, I don't know if that's the right advice anymore, but it certainly was what worked for me.
I think that is great advice because remind us what age were you or what time and place were you when this was happening?
29, 30,
Okay.
somewhere in there.
So you had that inclination early on to know that I can't get caught up in titles and money and all of that in order to get me from point A to point B. And I think the further along we get in our careers, the worse or harder it
Right.
gets. You kind of step away from that because society and the world and comparing ourselves to others makes it look like I'm supposed to be at this title, at this pay grade, at this time in my life.
Right.
And so for me, I have done just that. I decided that I was done with staffing and kind of recruiting and HR and all of that, but really wanted to go more into workforce development. And that meant not having that C-suite role, stepping down and kind of going into nonprofit, which now I get to work with the veterans. But the rooms that I am in, the network that I am building at this stage is more valuable than that title that wasn't getting me to where I really ultimately wanted to go. So I think
Yep.
that advice is golden. So thank you for sharing that.
Hmm.
Are there any learning curves that stretched you the most? And did imposter syndrome ever show up? And how did you overcome? And
um,
does it still show up?
yeah. So the learning curves that stretched me are I'm going to go back to finance and business, just straight up business. So it's really fun to see most universities now have real estate finance majors. I'm not sure I would have majored in it if it was there then, but um, it's a very specific path that you can take. There's real estate development master's programs. So learning deal structure, financing, um, pro forma modeling, all capital structures and stacks. And then the projects that we were doing were heavily dependent upon city and county incentives and tax credits and all of these really complicated structures that help to make deals happen. That was the place where I didn't know what to I didn't know what I didn't know, I didn't know what to ask, I just had to hang on tight and listen and, then go Google later, um, and try to put the pieces together, so that was a huge learning curve for me. It was fun as can be, but it's really fascinating to see these folks coming into the industry with that base of knowledge. I mean, it's not practical, they haven't done deals, but they've got a lot more than I did. And I would say that imposter syndrome shows up sometimes in those places today. So
Mhm.
thankfully, I feel like technology only continues to improve in terms of access to explaining those structures and helping to think through things and answering questions as you have them. I mean, how I combat it is I keep learning.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
just keep learning. I keep asking questions. I keep allowing a little bit of vulnerability to come through, without sacrificing the confidence of my client, my team, etcetera. But, let's all make sure we understand this together.
Absolutely.
Um, because things definitely there's no two deals alike in my industry. There's just nothing that is cookie cutter.
Yep. I can imagine so. And for me, my imposter has a name and she
Oh,
shows up. She has a whole name. Her name is Shamika. And she shows up sometimes to tell me I can't do something or I shouldn't do something. But then sometimes she'll show up and tell me, why are you doing that? Like, why are we going in this direction? So we have whole conversations,
yes.
dialogue. And so sometimes I have to talk her off the ledge. Like, you know what? I need you to quiet down and let me handle this. Like, yeah, probably a whole therapy session needs to happen because I'm literally talking out loud at home. This person that
I
nobody else
love
knows I'm
that
talking to.
so much,
Yeah.
Sierra. I love that she has a name, so you
She has
can
a
just
name.
call her out like
Yep.
Shamika.
I had an executive coach one time tell me, she was like, you need to name her because if she's showing up and has that much presence, she needs a name so that you can just tell Shamika to pipe down. And I was like, that is genius
It
for
is
me.
genius. Or explain to Shamika, if I could just ask you to
Mhm.
please, um, can you sit over here for a minute? Like I'm listening
Yeah.
to you. I
Yep.
value your opinion.
Mhm.
You may speak whenever you like, but just not right now. I mean, you
Yep.
can speak later.
Yes.
That's so
Absolutely.
cool.
Especially
That's
before
great.
you're walking into that room where you know you're gonna be the only female and you're gonna
Yes.
get all these questions, and she'll come in right as you turn the knob to walk in, and then here she comes, and so I have to literally look back, I'm like, "Mm-mm, you're not coming in this room with me today. Like, coming out here, I'm going in here."
You're gonna have to
And then
be
she's
on here.
gone.
That's the best.
Yeah. So
Ah, so my Shamika, and I can't wait to name her, she wakes me up at 3 in the morning and she's
oh,
like,
yeah.
"Hey, are you sleeping? You awake?"
Good.
I'm like, I am sleeping. Well, I just wanted to ask you a really quick question about that thing that you're doing tomorrow. If we could talk about that real quick. Ma'am, no, we cannot talk about it.
Yeah, those 3 o'clock wake up calls are so not needed.
Like,
Mhm. Yeah.
No, we're not talking about it. And it's so funny if you can get yourself back to sleep the next morning. I'm like, that was so irrational. What was that? Like, what were we doing with that?
Exactly.
I can't even conjure up that fear again, but it was there. It was real.
Absolutely. I love it. So yes, you'll have to tell us next time you come on what you named
Oh my God.
your
I'm on
person.
it. I'm on it.
Now let's talk about entrepreneurship, strategy, and risk, because I'm sure there's a lot of risk involved with what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, what is a problem in the market um, that you see or that you did see when you were first starting to build your company, and how did Tessa?
Great question. So, one of the big whys for starting Tessa and not going to work with someone else when I realized it was time for me to move on from my first job, and basically, just so you know, I was there from 2005 to 2018. It was a very long tenure at one
Mhm.
company, and it was amazing. It was a great ride. But I did understand it was time to move on. Um, and then COVID really hit when I decided to start Tessa. So there were a couple of things that I was seeing.
Mhm.
The biggest thing was the way that we were interacting with our physical space as a consumer, as an employee, as a business owner, as a community member was totally changing. I mean, if you remember, we had to like get comfortable with the severe risk of life just to go be in a room with people.
Yes.
It's pretty crazy.
Mhm.
And so I knew things were going to change and change quickly and maybe even change forever. There were some things that were just not going to be the same ever. And so I got really excited about bringing a creative mindset to that and a woman's leadership to that
Mhm.
listening, that ability to use a more nuanced reason and judgment in the decision making process. Moreover, I had been at a company that didn't have opportunities for me to invest in the projects. So after 12, 13 years, helping a lot of people make a lot of money in real estate,
Mhm.
my only investments were in my homes. And
Mhm.
no, I'm not complaining. I made a good living. I could have done whatever I wanted to do with that. But the opportunities to actually participate personally and those projects didn't exist. And that I wanted to change. And I wanted to change not just the opportunity for myself to build wealth through real estate, but I wanted to bring it to people that I had not seen at tables before. I saw, business owners who are very, very good at what they do in their businesses who didn't necessarily know real estate. And so there's that opportunity that they miss as users of real estate. A user signs a lease and creates a ton of value for whoever owns that real estate. So if I can bring more business owners into the ownership of their real estate, then that's really exciting to me. So using my feminine side of leadership to help understand, hey, and my HR experience, hey, how does the physical space now serve your brand, your culture, the growth of your company, your efficiency, all those things? How do we make sure that we're serving that now and in the future? And then if it's appropriate and if it's the right time for you, is it time to get you into the investment of that real estate? That's what I
Absolutely.
wanted to do with Tessa. So
And
asset backwards
Mhm.
is how we came up with Tessa. Just looking at what we're working with and what we're focused on, the actual asset, and mixing that up. So that's where Tessa came from.
Love it. So were there some early decisions that you feel like were pivotal in your success in launching Tessa?
Yeah. I mean, the decision to launch, I guess, would be the trick there. What had happened at the time was I had an opportunity. I'm going to call it the first client. I had an opportunity to work on a project right there at the very end of COVID when I knew I was repositioning the Practice Works business
Mhm.
and deciding to sell that real estate asset and pivot on Practice Works. I was looking for that thing to do in real estate. So I was talking to people about working with them. I was talking to people about working for them.
Mhm.
And what happened at the time was I had made the decision to take on said project, which would have been first client. And I was sitting for my broker's license, which is just a different type of license that I was going to have, which I hadn't had in the last, 15 years I've been licensed. So I was sitting for that and I was waiting for this company to get their contractor agreement to me. And it was taking them a really long time. So while I'm waiting for this, I'm just kind of thinking through what else, who else could maybe be projects for me to do. And I say, you know what? I'm going to form an LLC. First of all, I didn't like the optics of leaving this company and going to that company. That was not what I meant. And so I formed an LLC
Mhm.
and I sat for my broker's license. And by the time the contractor agreement came to me with Meredith Calhoun on it, I sent it back with Tessa Commercial Real Estate LLC. I was just like, okay, is this okay? I mean, y'all good with hiring a company versus hiring me? And they said, we don't care. I mean, they didn't want to hire a C-suite somebody.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was 2020. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, great.
That is awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. So, are there any mistakes that have taught you some valuable lessons as a founder?
There's so many mistakes. And I don't really think of them as mistakes. They don't feel like failures. They really feel like these amazing learning lessons. I'm
Mhm.
just hoping I'm not leaving a wake of, you know, debris.
Catastrophic. Messes. Yeah.
um, there have been a lot of, I'm going to call it, it's been very challenging for me to know how to grow team. That's been one of my biggest challenges. And it's funny because, I have an HR background and you would think this would come more naturally to me. But there's still an awful lot to do with not
Mhm.
a lot of people to do it. And so I think, where I've struggled the most and where I've made the mistakes that I don't fully know how to rectify or internalize. It's been around hires, and
Mhm.
just structures of positions.
Yeah.
That's been my biggest challenge. I know you asked for mistakes, but the mistakes have been related to that challenge.
And obviously, I'm sure you have learned so much from that. You have to know exactly when to bring that person on. Is there going to be enough work to sustain having this extra person here? Is
Yep.
that person in the right role? But right, just because you know this person and you know that they would be fantastic, is it really a good fit for them and where they are professionally?
Yep.
Um, and there's so many things that go into hiring, and it's not just on a small business level. This is the same issues that we have at scale with large corporations of
Right. Thank you for
making
saying that.
sure we hire the right person. So, but I feel like the fact that you know that that is your area of learning says a lot. That you want to make sure that you get that piece right,
I
and that you're
do.
working to make it better. That says a lot about the culture and the person that you are, the business owner that you are, that you wanna make sure that you're adding people that are not only gonna add value to Tessa, but that Tessa's adding value.
100%. And it's so complicated to get the culture fit right with
Mhm.
such a small team, too. I mean, you feel every hire in different ways. And I think another mistake that I'd like to share is the the unwillingness to delegate more sooner.
Yeah.
And I say I'm unwilling, but it's not that I'm unwilling, it's that I'm maybe uncomfortable,
Mhm.
meaning I don't wanna put more on someone than they're ready for or that they're, willing to do. I'm thinking about that way too much.
Mhm.
Instead of just having this open environment of, "Hey, I'm gonna just dump and you tell me it's your responsibility to tell me when." I'm trying to do this matrix of, what should I just keep? And I've kept a lot these last few years, and it's been, you know, I, I would have liked to have trained up and pushed off more sooner.
That is hard.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the hardest lessons, um, not just in entrepreneurship, but just in work in general,
Yeah.
because we know the passion that we have, and we also know our own work ethic and how every detail will be perfect when we submit, when we turn this in, or when this project gets launched. So, in that, when you're passing that on to someone else, there has to be a level of trust there. There has to be a level of passion on both sides. Like, there's just so many dynamics
For sure.
that when we're passing off a baby, it's just like passing off your newborn to someone that's
Totally.
never held the baby before, right? Everybody's nervous. You don't
Yep.
know if the baby's gonna get dropped. So, are they gonna hold the head correctly? Like, there's all these things, and so as we start delegating and passing things off, I always start by passing off the small things first. You know, "Can you cover this meeting for me?" And see how that goes. "Can you do this virtual event for me because I'm double booked?" And then once you start building trust, I give you the little nuggets to build the trust. And then once you
Yes.
build the trust up, then I'm like, okay, yes, I can make sure that this opportunity gets passed off to the right person on time and all of that. But then you still have those measures that you want, those checking measures that you're going to put in place.
Yep.
Like, make sure you CC me on that email when you hit send. That's all.
Right.
Like,
No doubt. I mean, it is the thing that will hold me and Tessa back if I let it. And then I got no one but me to
we are in control.
100%.
Okay, so then let's talk a little bit about risk. How did you navigate risk, whether it's financially, mentally, or emotionally in the early days of launching?
Yeah. Um, it's really I'm gonna stick to the financial first because I definitely bootstrapped this business.
Mhm.
Um, I had a little bit of savings, this little nugget. It's almost like the same little nugget of savings that I started when I left the HR company to go into it's like my number, right? I'm like, "Oh, well,
Mhm.
if I've got this little number over here, then we're fine, we're gonna move forward." So I it's funny, it's also at these life stages too. So when I was going from my 20s to my 30s, I thought that time was running out and I needed to learn this new industry.
Mhm.
And then I was navigating from mid 40s, 40s to mid 40s as I started Tessa. I was really okay with not making as much as I had made again. I was
Mhm.
again okay with making that investment in myself again. So I very much bootstrapped the company and managed financial risk that way. Just tried to be really smart about when I was taking on additional expenses in the beginning. And I've learned since that we do that as small business owners. We pride ourselves in not taking on debt or not having debt, and being really smart and frugal. And yet, this is a mindset that can really hold us back. Sometimes I imagine what if I had started with the big idea that was so big that I had so much confidence in that I would say, "Hey, Sierra, do you want to invest in Tessa?" Or,
Mhm.
"Hey, SBA lender, I need $500,000 for this huge idea." Very different approaches, very different opportunities. So I managed the risk in a very safe way, and that may have held us back in the beginning.
The sky's the limit now.
That's right.
So nothing holds
That's
us back.
right. That's right.
I love that. So let's talk about women power and presence in business. Um, Commercial real estate is still a club, right? And not one that's necessarily built for women, even though we're in 2026. So, what challenges did you face as a female that was breaking into this business?
I'll say the the challenges that I faced probably weren't related necessarily to me being a woman. To be truthful, I think I could sneak around and I wasn't a threat to anybody.
Hmm.
So I think it inured to my benefit in the beginning. It is a club, and I think the ways that it impacts our success and our trajectory today are related to very human tendencies, just who we trust
Hmm.
and who we have strong relationships with. And of course,
Yeah.
this business is a very relational and relationship based building business. And so I think that's been the challenge over the years. As a female in the industry. I'm really excited to say that I see so many more women doing very well in this industry, in the commercial side specifically, than I have in a long
Hmm.
time. So that is definitely getting better. And there are a lot of organizations and there's a lot of effort that goes into strengthening women in commercial real estate. And I'm all for women being in leadership roles at big commercial real estate houses and running those teams and shops. Yay. But what I
Yes.
really care about is that they're investing and they're in ownership and they're not just at the table, they're in the ownership group.
So important.
It is so important. You had another question. I'm not sure that I've answered it. Will you remind me of the last part of your question?
Nor were there any challenges that you faced, but I think you covered it very well. Sneak in under the radar,
A little bit, a
which
little bit.
was awesome, but that you were definitely making sure. So, are there some ways that you are making sure that women are taking ownership? Are there some things that you're involved in
Yeah,
that you
I
want?
would say there are a couple things that I'm involved in. Number one, early and often, I'm saying to any young or not young female commercial real estate professional that if this is something that they're comfortable with or they're interested in or have thought about, that they need to speak up to their employers and to their teams and, not be afraid to ask for how, to make clear that this is a priority for you and this is important to you. Because I'm telling you, women bring so much structure and power to these teams, and they deserve to be in the ownership. And I'm not suggesting that they don't need to bring capital to be in the ownership, but a lot of times, even people who have the capital aren't afforded the spot.
Hmm.
Um, and there's risk to it, but that. Um, Another thing that we've done or that I've done in over the past 5 years since starting Tessa, directly related to bringing opportunities to women is that I put together investment groups
Mhm.
that has been focused on uh, bringing lower risk opportunities to women so that they have the ability to get in the game. Okay. Be at the table, put a little money in, not get hurt too bad, but then see how it works. I put money in. This is what happens. This is the report
Mhm.
I get. This is the tax return I get. What is the process of being in an investment um, for me? And creating a safe space where they can ask a ton of questions, where we can just have a really open and honest and vulnerable, how does this work kind of um, relationship. And it's funny, both of the groups that I put together have been put together for tech startups and not real
Mhm.
estate projects. So what's even crazier is that I'm like, hey, the money that you invest right now, just consider that you've set fire to it. You may
Mhm.
not ever see it again. You might, you might see a lot of it, but it's not going to be for 5 years. Like, I don't even want to hear, like, you're going to get a K1 every year, but don't even think about it for 5 years.
Mhm.
Whereas a real estate investment is very different. It's like, here's
Yes.
your capital you put in. Here's what you can expect on your annual return on investment. You'll get a dividend that looks somewhere. It's totally
Yeah.
different. So I do look forward to putting those together for groups of women. But in both cases, we had the first group we put together was 18 women.
Mm.
We raised about $100,000, and we were 33% women of color in that group.
Oh,
Which I really
wow.
loved. I know. And
Love
then the
that.
second group we put together, I don't know the stats of that, but we're probably 50-50 women of color. But it's a smaller. We did about 75,000, and it was maybe 10 of us or 13 of us or something like that. And in both cases, we have invested in local woman owned startups. So that's been a really fun exercise for me. I've learned a ton in doing it, and I, hope to just keep doing it. I'm really um, focusing on continuing to develop those relationships with women who want to invest.
Love that. So if anybody is interested in joining those groups, is that something that they can just reach out to you?
They can. You have to be a woman.
Mhm.
And you have to attest to your accreditation, but we talk through all of that.
Mhm.
And yes, I love to hear from women who want to get involved, and especially if you're interested in getting involved in real estate investment.
Awesome. So, how have you learned to command respect in rooms when and where you are the minority? And that's in gender and in your leadership style.
Hmm. Um, Always doing what I say I'm going to do, and I work. I mean, I'm just not afraid to work. I feel better when it's it's challenging and we're getting through it to the other side. I think people really see that determination, the thoughtfulness, the intentionality around doing right by people and doing what I say I'm going to do.
I
It's a
love that.
trust building, right? I mean,
Yeah, it is.
people feel it, they know it. I think another way that, just as a woman, I've commanded respect, if I may put it, I'm going to put it the way you put it, um, is that I'm listening. I really do love to be helpful.
Mhm.
It's been interesting to be a business owner and understand that my first question is, how can I help? Not
Mhm.
how much is this gonna make us? And sometimes
Absolutely.
I have to check myself on that because guess what? We got bills.
It's not a nonprofit.
We are not playing real estate.
Mhm.
This is a
Yeah.
for-profit
Yeah.
endeavor. And so I definitely I have no trouble building trust, and I know that people do respect that. I genuinely want to be helpful.
And I can attest to that. You have been helpful with just even being a guest on the podcast. You have been helpful with my daughter during her pageant journey,
Uh-huh.
and you definitely are always someone that has a heart for service, and it's
Yeah.
it's very much appreciated.
Thank you.
How can women be more intentional about building networks that unlock opportunity? Because I'm sure you have had to do not only your HR career.
Yeah, that's a really great question. And my first, my initial response is you got to be out. You got to be in the rooms. You got to go to the things. You need to figure out the organizations that will put you in the rooms. And there's a time when that is just theater. That
Mhm.
is just saying you went. For the sake of making yourself feel like you're busy or active. And so I really want the intentionality comes around being conscious of that, keeping that in check. Am I just going to the BSherm meeting, or is there something or someone there that I need to connect with? Am I just going to Rotary or Kiwanis, or am I really thinking through who I want to have that chance encounter with,
Mhm.
to be seen, to connect, to ask the question that you needed to ask them in person instead of shooting a text over. So that's really the intentionality that I am trying to practice right now, um,
Mhm.
is knowing that not just going to the thing and being in the room, but knowing what you want to accomplish from that. And then I have these grand ideas that I can bring people I love and respect and like think are really amazing together on a regular basis.
Mhm.
Um, that proves to be harder
Yeah.
than I thought. And I'm a little concerned that it won't have quite the return that I want it to have. But just making sure that you keep that list of people that
Mhm.
you want to see regularly, a few times a year, and see them, make it
Ab-
happen.
Absolutely. I think this year I have been more intentional on doing just that. One, I'm new still to Huntsville, only been here for about a year and a half. So I set out this year to really build my network here in Huntsville. And so I have been going to all the things, which sometimes is so overwhelming. I'm not going to lie. My social calendar, I'm like, did I get any actual work done because I haven't been socializing all week long?
Right, right.
But I always go in, and that is also another time when I talk to myself. Okay, what is the goal? The plan is to meet at least 5 people and have one person that I can have coffee, lunch, or drinks with at some point over the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
And so, with that in mind, I have been able to meet some fabulous, amazing leaders here in Huntsville, have made some connections that have given me opportunities to do other things. So I think being intentional about your networking is important. It can be overwhelming. Don't do Sierra and go to everything. But in the long run, after I sit back and look, especially now that the holidays are coming and my calendar is starting to calm back down, I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, I'm glad that I did do that.
And you're so smart that you have that, "Okay, what am I doing here? What is the thing
Mhm.
that is
You have to
happening?"
remind yourself because you'll be just stuck on the wall or just sitting there eating chips and dip and drinking all the drinks. Like,
Yeah,
and nothing will be accomplished when you leave.
that's right. Well, you'll
So
be tireder.
yes, and you'll be tired. So like I that was that even worth my time? Like you have
Right.
to worth your time. So you have to okay, Meredith. So now we're gonna go into what I call the human algorithm round, where we're
Oh.
gonna talk about adaptability, connection, and empathy. So your first question is about empathy. How has empathy influenced the way you lead clients and teams in high stakes business?
I really think that this is one of my superpowers. I hope that I'm using empathy in the right way when I say this. I am it is a very natural reaction for me to try to put myself in your shoes, to try to understand what matters to you and why, because that's that's how we're going to get you comfortable with the big decision that you have to make. And our business is very high stakes. It is a lot of money
Mhm.
for people. They are signing leases or making purchases or securing loans that they are personally guaranteeing. It is very high stakes. And so understanding their real motivations, what they really have to or need to or want to achieve from this investment or this commitment that they're making is everything. It's literally the whole thing. But then, making sure that you're dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's with and for them as well. Um, but it's a very important factor in my business.
Yes, I agree 100%. And I can also see that with everything, you want to make sure that you are putting the human first.
Absolutely.
Uh, and you're right. I mean, I know just buying a home and some of the real estate transactions that I've had to deal with have been some of the most stressful times of my life because in the long run, you're thinking, oh, I am now responsible for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes.
The bank is going to be expecting from me for the next 30 years.
Yes.
and
Every
the,
month.
yeah, yeah,
Every
every
month.
month, consistently, no matter what's happening in life. So,
Well, it's so funny that a lot of me, this is early 30s. I knew I wanted to get into real estate. I knew
mhm,
why. So I knew it was a commercial thing, but because of the types of projects I wanted to be involved in, I knew that was commercial real estate. But of course, you see many more women in residential real estate. And at the time, I felt like a very business minded and business focused person. And I thought, I am going to have to be working with people who are not making a decision on a house, $1 million purchase on whether or not their couch fits. I can't do it. Okay.
absolutely. Mhm,
Well, guess what? Sometimes we're making decisions on a $5 million lease based on, where the CEO lives or, oh, we don't like this space because my desk isn't going to fit in here. Or that same just sort of complete come apart when it's time to make the big decision. We're all human.
mhm.
So it comes
Oh,
up
yes.
even for the most sophisticated business owners.
But I'm sure there's some stories that you can tell
I
for
can
sure.
tell some stories for sure.
Okay, let's talk about adaptability. So, not only in entrepreneurship, but just in your career as a whole, it demands constant evolution. So, what moments force you to adapt and to adapt quickly? Probably, for your instance, COVID, the
Yeah,
pandemic, where you
100%.
business and had to pivot. So,
Yep. Yeah,
if
COVID definitely was a huge time for pivoting and figuring out how to reorganize a business. But honestly, Sierra, and this is practice works, not Tessa,
Mhm,
we we had structured a real estate deal based on the potential that we were wrong about our business model.
mhm,
So, and I honestly don't believe we would have been successful getting the loan that we got to redo the building, had I not had a real estate background. If we were
mhm,
just two random women going to start a business together and buy a building for that business, I don't think that they would have been as comfortable as they were with me because we said, hey, we need to buy this building because if we're wrong about our business model, we can lease it or sell it or reposition or something. But if we sign a lease and we ask Mr. Landlord to spend $500,000 on our space and we're wrong, we got trouble. We got real
mhm,
problems because dude's going to want his money. I mean, that's not going to go away. And guess what? COVID happened. We weren't wrong, but a pandemic happened.
mhm,
And then I'm just going to whisper this in your ear. We were wrong. I mean, our business model was not yet in the black. We were a year old when COVID hit and we were struggling. And so this is an example that I love to share with other business owners about, hey, there is an element of flexibility when you own the asset versus when you're in a lease.
mhm,
And let's just make sure this isn't the decision that you need to make right now, so that you can, always turn around and dispose of that asset, if you will. So that was a pivotal time for sure. There have been other pivotal moments in Tessa's life for sure. I mean, not the least of which moving into the space that we're in now, into making the decision to find an investor and own our own office space. We felt it was really important for us to showcase what we do through our own project. We felt it was critical to, put our money where our mouth was. And so a year ago in October, we opened up our headquarters at the Burger Phillips building in partnership with Opportunity Alabama, and it it's been life changing for everyone just to have the space that we love to come to and work in together,
Mhm.
and a space to greet and meet clients and prospective clients, and just our base, our base for launching the creative ideas and the next project that we want to do. I feel like that's been a really important
Well,
step for us.
you just answered the next question, which was about connection and what relationship or community moment affirmed that you were building the right business. So,
Yeah.
I think that's amazing that it's just come full circle for you and that you know that you're going in the right direction for.
Yeah. Yeah. We're having a great time. And it's moving fast. Things are changing really quickly.
Mhm.
Finding, making sure that we are focused on the right things, while this technology wave and evolution takes place seems to be more and more critical, than ever before.
Absolutely. So we have made it to our last question. And this is a question that every guest on the She Suite is going to answer as their last questions. Your answer is all your own and unique, but I just love seeing how different people answer this one question. So, what is one truth about women in leadership that the world isn't ready to hear, but absolutely needs to?
Love this question so much.
Good.
Thank you for not asking me what's on my playlist or like what's my walk-in music. You remember I can't answer that. I'm still not ready for that. Um, so here's what I think is most important that the world's not really ready to hear, and it is related to technology and the speed at which business is going to change. There will be a lot of things that don't change quickly and don't move as quickly as others. But for women in leadership, I believe that technology is going to make the female skill set even more critical. The
Mhm.
vulnerability, the adaptability, that that piece of female leadership is going to be what puts everybody ahead. And
Mhm.
so it's time for us to make room for women to
Mhm.
not just be at the table, but be in the ownership and have that female centered lens of leadership as we transform companies to their most adaptable state.
Love that so much because you basically just talked about the whole human algorithm concept of being able to lead at what human speed is um and it's a great way to sum up an amazing session with you. So thank you so much for saying that.
Well, I have enjoyed being with you just tremendously, Sierra. You're such a delight, and I'm just thrilled to be your friend. And I'm really excited for this podcast that you put together. Congratulations to you.
Well, thank you so much, Meredith. I'm excited to see what comes of this, and hopefully, we are helping women be more comfortable and more outspoken so that they can also be in the she suite and whatever that looks like for them, whether it's in a corporation or entrepreneurship. We just want them to be successful and live their lives fully.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest. I truly admire you and all the things that you are doing, your skill, your courage, your conviction. And thank you for sharing all these amazing nuggets in the She Suite with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.